Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're taking a look at a brand new Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, BELLIBOLT. BELLIBOLT is a pure electric type Pokemon with the moveset of Thundershock, Discharge, and Zap Cannon. So it does not have a lot of coverage, but it does have some pretty nice bulk, and as far as electric type moves go, it has some pretty nice moves. So I wanted to test it out on a pretty spicy team, so I led with Skeledirge, and I had my newly built Shadow Dragonair as the safe switch. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's get Zap Cannoning with BELLIBOLT. Hopping into the first match, picking up an amazing lead, Skeledirge into Medicham. This is a dominant matchup for Skeledirge. Opponent is going to look to safe switch into Gligar, and I'm going to respond with Dragonair. Dragonair farming up energy here. Gligar has quite a bit of energy, but I'm going to let this through, anticipating that they're just going for the Aerial Ace. I farm up with the Dragonair. Unfortunately, the game stutters. It was stuttering like crazy during my sets today. I lost way more games than I ever should have, unfortunately, due to the game stuttering like crazy. I'm going to be shielding with the Dragonair. Dragonair continuing to farm. Gligar firing off another charge move. I should be able to shield Dragon Breath down and win Switch Advantage, and Switch Advantage will be quite nice, as that way I can keep the Medicham aligned onto the Skeledirge. I'm looking to go for the Body Slam into whatever they bring in, but they snipe with a Lick from Lickitung. But now I'm going to send in BELLIBOLT. And this is where you're going to see the bulk of BELLIBOLT. BELLIBOLT has some pretty nice bulk. Again, it's a mono electric type with only electric type moves, so its coverage is very limited, but it has Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon does massive damage, and it has that 66% chance of getting a debuff. In this case, we do actually get the debuff. BELLIBOLT continuing to farm. I'm in the 0 to 1 shield situation here. So the opponent has a shield. I do not. They try and catch onto Medicham, but I can just hold onto the energy and send in the Skeledirge. Skeledirge is going to be firing off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball will connect. Massive damage onto the Medicham. Medicham able to make it to a last second charge move here. It is going to be the Psychic, but I'm able to withstand that, no problem. In comes the Lickitung. I make it to Disarming Voice. And since I have that Zap Cannon loaded, this game is over. Opponent can farm all the way down with Lickitung, but BELLIBOLT is going to win CMP over the Lickitung. Zap Cannon takes down the Lickitung, and that's a good game. Moving into the next match, I see an absolutely terrible lead. Skeledirge going up against Lanturn. I do have two better responses in the back, so I'm going to safe switch into the Shadow Dragonair, and the opponent is going to send in Steelix. This is extremely unfortunate. The good news is I've baited out the Steelix, as of course BELLIBOLT could do absolutely nothing there, but this is really not great. My opponent actually could have farmed down there. They instead think I have slightly more energy than I do, and they end up throwing theirs. That's perfectly fine, because I needed to bait out the Steelix to hopefully let BELLIBOLT do anything in the back, so now I can send in the Skeledirge. This is not enough for a potential Earthquake, so I can just no-shield this and get the farm down. Even though I'm debuffed, I will actually go for a Shadow Ball into the Lanturn. The main reason being is I just want to get some chip damage onto the Lanturn to make it easier for BELLIBOLT to get rid of. Unfortunately, this Lanturn is on Water Gun. If it's Spark, it's a lot better of a matchup for BELLIBOLT, but unfortunately, it is on the Water Gun, so that makes this tough. They are not yet in discharge range. I'm going to farm up with the BELLIBOLT, and I decide to go for the Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon, of course, will definitely KO from this health range. Opponent is going to commit the shield. I do get the attack fall from the BELLIBOLT. BELLIBOLT continuing to farm. Lanturn going for another Surf, and I am going to be letting this through. I'm continuing to farm up energy, and now I'm going for the Discharge. Discharge will not KO, but it will get them low. Opponent commits the shield. It seems like they're weak in the back, so I'm going to be shielding up here. Can BELLIBOLT sweep in this endgame? Surf will be shielded. I continue to farm in the back. It's a Mandibuzz, and I get to make it to the Zap Cannon. Mandibuzz is an extremely bulky Pokemon, but Zap Cannon still nearly one-shots. BELLIBOLT can't make the Discharge, and unfortunately, that's going to be game over as they exit with a Foul Play, and Foul Play will secure the knockout onto Skeledirge. We've got some spice from the opponent in the next match as I lead Skeledirge into Buzzwole. Opponent safe switches into Lanturn, and I'm going to respond with the Shadow Dragonair. Dragonair is a complete wall to Lanturn. It doesn't matter what they throw. I can safely no-shield and look to massively overfarm in this matchup. They go for the harder-hitting Thunderbolt. I'm going to farm up past 2 Body Slams, and this way I can guarantee that I keep Switch Advantage, and on top of that, I lead with energy that I can throw at the Buzzwole. Unfortunately, it's looking like by my health that I'm only going to be getting to 1 move versus the Buzzwole. It'd be really nice to get to back-to-back Body Slams, but I just don't have enough energy here. I'm going to go for Body Slam number 1. My opponent will never shield this, as they have a very difficult matchup awaiting the Buzzwole with the Skeledirge. In the back, it's everyone's least favorite Great League Pokemon. In comes Carbink. Oh my goodness. I'm firing off this Shadow Ball. This team is very very, very, very weak to Carbink. I'm going to send in Bellibolt, and I do need to keep Bellibolt healthy. Bellibolt can very comfortably tank a move from Carbink, but I want to keep it extremely healthy. I farm up to the Zap Cannon, and I'm actually baiting with the Discharge here. Opponent knows they have to use the Carbink and keep it alive if they want to get rid of the Skeledirge, so it's a pretty safe bet that they're probably going to be double shielding. I will commit the shield here. I'm looking to farm up a massive amount of energy. However, the switch clocks are misaligned, so I am going to go for a Discharge here. My opponent actually calls it. They send in the Buzzwole, and I'm going to go for an undercharged Discharge. The reason being is I needed to throw this move to burn the switch clock, and now I can send in Skeledirge and go for the snipe. I have to try and farm up to 2 here, and my opponent does not want to let that happen, so they're going to go for the Rock Slide. Rock Slide will secure the KO, and now it's all up to Bellibolt. Can Bellibolt get to the farm down here or get to the double discharge? Bellibolt gets the farm down. Get that Carbink out of here, and that's a good game. We see a great lead in the next match. Skeledirge into Defense Deoxys, but the opponent save switches into Vigoroth, and despite the really good lead and the really good switch for me, I'm not in a good position, as they're probably running double counter with Obstagoon in the back, and if so, I'm in a bit of trouble. I am going to be shielding up my Shadow Dragonair, but they're going to be able to make it to another Body Slam. I don't really want to go down 2 shields, so I am going to let this through. Body Slam is going to connect. I get the farm down, but unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make 2 moves versus the Deoxys. So all this does is just give Deoxys a shield advantage and now an energy lead. So this mid game did not go well for me whatsoever. I can send back in the Skeledirge. In the back, it is going to be the Obstagoon. I'm firing off the Disarming Voice. This will hit for super effective damage. Opponent will commit the shield, and now I can send in Bellibolt. Bellibolt, as I mentioned, does have some pretty nice bulk, so I'm going to be able to withstand multiple charge moves here. They're going to go for Night Slash number 1. I'm able to tank that, no problem. Farming up to the Zap Cannon, but they're just able to make it to Night Slash number 2. I'm going to let this through, and I'm just full sending the Zap Cannon here. Zap Cannon hits like an absolute truck if it lands, which it does. Back in comes the Deoxys. Can Bellibolt make it to the discharge? I barely cannot, and not getting that move means that I'm probably going to lose this game. They just have way too much energy on the Deoxys. They go for the Thunderbolt. I have to double up on Disarming Voices here, but my opponent is at the back-to-back Psycho Boosts, so I can go for the Disarming Voice, but it's a CMP tie, so I'm not going to be able to get my second charge move off. So if I had slightly better Bellibolt IVs, I could have won this game. Unfortunately, this was the best that I found in about an hour of hunting, so this is just kind of what I had to go with. We see an amazing lead in the next match. Skeledirge into Whimsicott. Skeledirge picking up a lot of early leads. Opponent save switches into a Swampert, and I'm really happy that this Swampert was save switched, as this team is extremely ABA weak to ground types. The Swampert baits with the Hydro. I'm farming up, and I'm going to be firing off the Body Slam. Body Slam will do massive damage to this Swampert, so Swampert will commit the shield. From here, I should just be able to safely shield the Earthquake and commit to the farm down. Opponent actually ends up going for another Hydro, recognizing that a Hydro, even though it is resisted, will still do some pretty significant damage. So Hydro will connect. I'm able to get the farm down with the Dragonair. I try and throw 1 in the move, but again, the frame drop forces me to throw on alignment, and that's actually going to cost me this next Body Slam, which is extremely frustrating. I send in the Skeledirge. Opponent fires off their energy here, and they're going to go for the Moonblast. Let's see, what do they have in the back? It's a Medicham, so things are looking pretty good for me here. I definitely would have loved to get that second Body Slam off if the game was working. Opponent calls the Disarming Voice, a pretty nice call by the opponent there, and I'm going for Disarming Voice number 2. They should be shielding this, and they do. I continue to farm up with the Skeledirge, forcing them to throw energy, and then I should be able to win this game with Bellibolt. The opponent is not in discharge range, but I should just be able to go for a discharge into the Medicham and a Zap Cannon onto that Whimsicott. My opponent is going to be firing off the Psychic. That connects onto the Bellibolt. I farm up with the Bellibolt, go for the discharge, but a beautiful catch by my opponent. I still win this game, however. I just have to farm up to 2 more discharges, and I win. I'm farming up with Bellibolt. I go for the discharge. We get the second frame drop of the match. It forces an overtap into a CMP tie that I do not win. You've got to be kidding me. On the bright side, Skeledirge keeps crushing it on the lead, leading into a Lowland Sandslash. Opponent save switches into a Pelipper, and I now get to send in Bellibolt. This is the absolute dream. Opponent being hit with double super effective damage, and they commit a shield. That's extremely surprising. My opponent may be thinking they can flip this, but due to the bulk of Bellibolt, I can take 2 weather balls very comfortably, and they're not really ever going to be able to wing attack me down. So I'm in a great spot. I make it to another discharge into the Pelipper. My opponent is not going to shield twice, but not only do they not have switch advantage, but they're down a shield as well, so my opponent in an extremely unfavorable position. I'm firing off the discharge. Discharge will connect onto the A-Slash. I send in the Skeledirge in the back. It's Gligar. In comes the Shadow Dragonair, and the opponent concedes the match. Moving into the next match, and we see same leads as I lead Skeledirge into A-Slash. Opponent throws one Shadow Claw, they save switch into Azumarill, and I'm going to respond with Bellibolt. Bellibolt will be able to withstand whatever they throw here. I'm expecting they're going to be firing off the Play Rough. But this Azu is actually running Hydro Pump, and that is a concern. As with Hydro Pump, I believe they can now 2-shield and bubble down. I do get the debuff, but oh my goodness, them having Hydro Pump puts me in a really uncomfortable position. I'm forced to go for another Zap Cannon, but they can just double shield. I get a second debuff, and now in comes Skeledirge. Opponent throwing on suboptimal charge move timing there, giving me an entire Incinerate for free as they go for the Hydro Pump. I'm farming up with the Skeledirge, going for the Shadow Ball, but this will not KO. This is really, really not ideal. I'm farming up with the Skeledirge, trying to go for the Disarming Voice, and again, the game forcing an overtap there, so I guess I just get to farm down now, but the game was just struggling so much during these sets. Unfortunately, it made for a very frustrating playing experience. I'm firing off the Shadow Ball, that does massive damage onto the Tapu Fini, and now I'm going for the Disarming Voice. I overfarmed by 1 to hopefully let me reach a Shadow Ball versus the A-Slash. In comes the A-Slash, Shadow Claws tearing through the Skeledirge, but the Skeledirge hangs on, makes it to the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball gets the Alolan Sandslash to 1 HP, and I can send in the Dragonair. Dragonair will withstand that Ice Punch and secure the win. Moving into the next match, we see a very tough lead. Skeledirge into Sableye. I save switch into the Shadow Dragonair. Opponent sends in Powder Snow Alolan Sandslash. If this is a Shadow Claw A-Slash, I potentially can make a play for switch. But unfortunately, since it's Powder Snow, there's not really anything I can do. I'm going to shield, go for the Aqua Tail, hope that my opponent, for some reason, lets it through. But if my opponent commits the shield, then I don't get switch, and this is probably going to be the Vroom Vroom Pow team with Venusaur in the back. And in that case, my Bellibolt is completely useless. So I'm going to send in the Bellibolt, just use it to absorb energy, and then look to, oh, my switch timer wasn't up. I really needed to get an energy lead on the Skeledirge, and not getting the energy lead on the Skeledirge, as you're going to see, is just going to cost me this game. Because I'm not going to be able to make it to double Disarming Voice before the opponent makes it to double Foul Play. Opponent firing off their charge move, I will commit the shield, but at this point, it's just a losing battle. I do not have a win con in this game. Basically, just triple hard countered, more or less. The Foul Play will secure the KO, and I will resign the match. Hopping into the final match, leading Skeledirge into Shadow Nidoqueen. I definitely prefer to see the Nidoqueen on the lead rather than a Clodsire, as Shadow Nidoqueen is way less tanky. So Nidoqueen is extremely threatened by a Shadow Ball, so I feel pretty okay going for a Disarming Voice bait. Disarming Voice will be shielded by the opponent. Opponent does have enough for the Earth Power, so I will respect it with a shield. Opponent full sends the Earth Power. I do get a defense drop, which is unfortunate, and I'm going to be firing off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball into the Nidoqueen will connect and pick up the knockout. In comes Lickitung. I'm going to be pivoting into the Shadow Dragonair, as I don't really want to stay in with my debuff Skeledirge. Body Slam will connect. I'm going to look to massively overfarm and go for the Body Slam just before my opponent makes it to Body Slam number 2. My Body Slam will be shielded up by my opponent. I'm able to make it to a last second Body Slam. Shadow Dragonair able to hang on. That's going to be getting that Lickitung low. I'm going to fully wait the timer here because, of course, I switched. My opponent didn't. And then I'm going to send in Bellibolt. In comes Bellibolt, farming up energy in the back. It's a Scrafty, and I just have to make it to a Disarming Voice with the Skeledirge. I'm going to be committed to shield as Scrafty will go for the Foul Play, and now I can even overfarm by 1. Disarming Voice, double super effective damage onto the Scrafty, will get the knockout. In comes the Lickitung. Lickitung firing off energy here. I'm hoping to finish the game off with Bellibolt, but as you're going to see, Body Slam, not going to cut it. And it turns out Skeledirge will actually secure the win. All in all, Bellibolt does have a lot going for it when it comes to Go Battle League. It has some very nice bulk, and it has a very nice moveset. Thundershock, Discharge, Zap Cannon, all pretty solid moves. However, the issue that it runs into is that it has good charge moves, but they're all electric type, so it has zero coverage whatsoever. So if you get that stuck against something like, I don't know, a Steelix or a Swampert, you're just absolutely destroyed. The game is over. So it's something that I would like to see potentially in a future move update, giving Bellibolt some kind of a coverage move, as that could really help it see some play, whereas at the current moment, it's probably just going to be a limited metamon at best, despite the fact that it does have some pretty nice bulk, just due to that extreme limiting factor of having zero coverage moves whatsoever. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.